Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode. On this episode, I want to go over the Nucanoe Unlimited, how we finally got it set up. We try to keep it as simple as possible, but we're going to do a quick walkthrough, how we have our Nucanoe set up, and hopefully gives you guys some ideas as well. For starters, I want to say excuse the mess behind me, what you see around me. I'm working on my house. I'm in the middle of changing trailers, so we got a lot going on this next week or so. But let's start at the bow, and we'll work our way back to the stern. So on the bow, we ended up adding the Yak Power little red and green lights onto the front of this for our navigational lights because we go out early in the morning. We have a motor, we have to be Coast Guard approved, and we also want to be safe. That is controlled by a switch I have right there in the panel, and I figure I'll walk to the back here real quick to show you how it's powered. In this hatch, we took a Burley Pro basically hatch insert that was for our Hobie, kind of butchered it up, cut it down, and that's where we keep our Aqua, and that's where all our connections are down in there. But that's what powers the navigational lights on our kayak, and it's controlled by the switch right there. Up front here we have some tie downs from Yak Attack. Sometimes we use a little cam strap, and we utilize a dry bag. Sometimes you just strap it right across the front here. That's why we have these clips here, but when I'm most time by myself, I keep it underneath my seat. In that dry bag I keep toilet paper, I keep tie wraps, first aid kit, some hand tools, and some minor little things like sunscreen and bug spray is what goes in that dry bag. I got this dry bag off of Amazon, and it's made by Cast King. It was like $13. The thing works great. That's a 10 liter. I may be going up to a 15 or a 20 just to store a little bit more stuff, and then I'll probably keep it up front here. It stays out of the way. You know, with all this deck space, I want to have, you know, simplicity, because every now and then I do add a seat, and it's going to be more frequently as my son gets used to being on the kayak, and we set this up for a tandem. I think the Panfish Pro Portrait camera mount, which we actually added the gear, the roto grip, to hold our Yak Attack landing leverage net, and it just kind of stages right here, and it's easy for me just to grab, do my thing, put it back, and it stays there. We have the AR tube from Yak Attack where I do my staging. You know, after I catch a fish, I put my rod in here. It's almost the same similar setup as my Hobie, but I utilize the track on the Nucanoe instead of having like the other little plastic inserts that Hobie has to mount all this stuff too. So I have the AR tube here to, you know, do staging when I'm changing and setting up lures, or after I catch a fish, I put my rod in there and it holds it up out of the way, not on the floor while I'm trying to unhook the fish. We do have the Torpedo on this, so here is the throttle control for the Torpedo. It's mounted on the Yak Attack actual throttle mount setup. It actually came with the kit, but you can buy these separately. You know, I can utilize all this track on the Nucanoe Unlimited. So this track on the Nucanoe is it was a great idea. This way you can just do whatever you want. It's probably why, you know, it's the reason why they call it the Unlimited. They added a bunch of track on here that you can just basically add what you want and move things around as needed, or, you know, adjust as needed on the fly, etc. On the side here, we do have our paddle. Just utilizing the Nucanoe Unlimited paddle holder. I may change up to the double header maybe down here and take it off of this. I'm not sure yet. This has been working great, but every now and then I do catch a wave on my paddle and it's been knocking it off. That's why I do have it tethered, and I'm using the Rogue Gear Company tether for our paddle. That is tied off. I took the metal clip off so it doesn't make any noise. I just have a little Yak Attack like eye loop here, and I just worked that through, and that's how I have my paddle tethered off, and I also run my cable through here just to kind of keep it out of the way for my throttle for my Torpedo, which the battery sits right behind the seat here, and that's where my connections go. I just don't have it plugged in right now. On my seat, as always, one of the big things I always push is the kayak cushion. I'm not sponsored by anything on this kayak, just so you know, but I 100% agree. Go with the kayak cushion all the time. It makes a world of difference being on the kayak for a long period of time. I used to run without it, but in 2019 I got one and haven't gone back since. It does take a lot of pressure points off your butt and makes the day on the water a lot more enjoyable. So I do suggest a kayak cushion. You know, I did a little video on this. I have a video on the install of all this stuff on my kayak. So those are separate videos. You can find them on my channel. It's not hard to find. The Nucanoe Unlimited has a 360 swivel seat, which is nice. I'm not used to having the swivel seat, so it's nice to like dangle your feet off the side, you know, reach behind you, get to my black pack and make any you know, adjustments back there, getting some gear out of that as well. As we come back here, we had the anchor wizard just attached to the track. I have a video on this where I made this little plastic plate, and I had to make this plastic plate to have my anchor wizard on here because obviously the grappling hook will interfere with the motor. So I made this little plate, have a separate video on this too, to be able to keep my anchor basically running straight back and off to the side so it doesn't interfere with my motor. So I use this anchor a lot, you know, especially if I'm in a windy condition or in tidal water, moving water. After I catch a fish, I drop this anchor real quick. That's why I use the grappling style, so it digs into the sand, digs into the, you know, the silt and all the muck we have around here in South Carolina. And it just holds me in place while I take a picture of the fish. Just holds me without having to worry about where I'm going to be drifting into next. Behind my seat, I had the Black Pack Pro, 16 by 16, the same size. A lot of this stuff transferred from my Hobie. In here, I just keep my tackle, my Yeti drink holder that holds my cold or hot drinks. Obviously, I have the Torpedo on the back, and that's what our primary propulsion is for this kayak. And this was installed, separate video for this too, installed using their Quick Connect that they have set up with foot control steering. Literally, you push forward, and the motor just moves from side to side, back, left. It moves very easily. Under full throttle though, there is a lot of pressure on that paddle. I mean on that pedal. I usually don't go full throttle. It's only when I need to get out of the way or get across somewhere real quick. We have the Yak Attack Visa Pro. We just changed it out to the American flag, and we use that to be seen on the water. Next to that, we have the Yak Attack Boomstick Pro. It gives you an overlook angle when I'm out in the water. I utilize Yak Attack, little tie down still, but I use the night eye ties to hold down my Black Pack Pro instead of using their ties, and they work really well. Inside here, like I said, I keep my tackle, I keep my gear, I keep my rope when I first launch and everything in here. Then my tackle boxes go in here, but I also have a Nucanoe battery in here which powers the USB charger. So I got this one here for my phone if I need it, and this what runs and powers and keeps my GoPro charged up on my Boomstick Pro. That just stays inside there. I cut this. I think I have a video on this too. I did this real quick. Just basically, you know, modified a little bit of the inside of the Black Pack Pro. As you see, they have like these little nubs. I took a, let me spin this around here. You can see I just took like a multi-tool, kind of smoothed it out so I can get the lock nut on here to hold this in there and hold flat. And that's what charges my camera and my phone if needed. We got the battery behind the seat, like I said before. This is how I used to have a Yak Gadget bump board holder on my Hobie, but now that I have this, I just utilize the roto grips from Yak Attack, and it just goes in there real easy. Now, I don't know if you guys saw any footage from Yak Attack from iCast this year. They're coming out with their own version of the bump board. They got to do some adjustments to it. Me and Chad talked about it. I agree that they need to add the half-inch mark in between numbers, because this looks like a bunch of lines. I hope they change that, but I'm pretty sure Chad's going to make that another approved board besides the catch. But they had their own like little larger roto grips to hold their board. Their board's a little wider. We'll see if we ever get one of those. I think they're going to be made out of plastic, which is fine. You know, like a stiffer plastic, like the carbonite, like the catch boards. We'll probably always stick with aluminum board, but this is how we hold our catch board. You know me, I get off subject real easy. And real quick Connect motor mount from Nucanoe. It works with their kayak. You can see everything is on here via thumb screws. So this is all easily removable, and you can take all this stuff off real easy. This is only held on with one, you know, once again, like another thumb screw that holds this motor mount on. So if you don't want your motor and you're doing a river float, you can take it off real easy and eliminate all the cables just like that. It's a great setup. Before on my Hobie, I used to use their, sorry, this thing's all covered with salt. I gotta clean it. With the Hobie, I used to use the transducer mount underneath that had, you know, had a retractable for our side scan. I thought about putting it here. Nucanoe makes it and has like a little retractable cord that you can put a set setup in here that pulls your transducer up, and you can run your cables through these black plates, make, you know, do a through haul and all that. But I actually wanted to keep it simple because lately I haven't been running my fish finder as much as I used to, because I'm fishing a lot of bodies of water that I'm repetitively fishing the same bodies of water. So I'm really learning the bodies of water really well. I don't need to have my fish finder with me all the time. So I'm like, you know what? There's days where I don't need to take that with me, worry about charging that battery. So it's easy with this cell block from Yak Attack that you can take these thumb screws off and this whole thing comes off in one shot. This is all self-contained. You wrap the extra cable around the transducer there. This just deploys. So when I don't need it and I'm running full speed, I just tuck this up when I'm running on the water. And when I'm done motoring along, I just drop this down. It's a little easier when you're sitting from behind, and I got my imaging. Inside here is where I keep my Nucanoe battery, and it just stays in there. I just charge it, and when I'm, you know, when I'm on the water, I just plug this in, this slides back, and this works everything. So this removes real easy with thumb screws. You know, at first when I had this on there, I'm like, you know, this moves a lot when I'm sitting here. But believe it or not, when I'm on the water and motoring along, this thing barely moves. I thought it'd be like this the whole time and really shaking. It really doesn't. It's amazing, actually. It's just kind of weird. And that's just the track more or less moving here. But it's been great so far. I've been running this on salt water. I've been beating this boat up, and this thing has been holding up great. So it's just a really simple way to install a fish finder on any kayak. You can just get some track mounted on top of your kayak, do this cell block, and you don't have to worry about like any internal wiring, and you can keep this really simple for yourself. That's it, guys. I mean, this is the walkthrough around. We'll walk around one more time. If you guys have any questions, just drop a comment. Hit me up on my social media at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm on all those at RJM Fishtails. But you can see we try to keep this set up as simple as possible. It's nice coming from the Hobie to this, and I'm really enjoying the Nucanoe Unlimited. You know, I looked at these a long time ago, and I didn't go with it, you know, originally because I'm like, I didn't have a place to really water test when these first came out. So, you know, this went off for reviews online, and I started out with the Hobie PA14 because I was like 350 pounds then. I wanted something that was really known to be stable, and I just went with that as my first kayak. But I always looked at the Nucanoes from the start, but just never went with it. But now, if you guys follow along with the channel, you know the reason why I went to the Nucanoe Unlimited, and the Hobie's my wife's now, is because I want to set this up as a tandem setup for my son. You know, he's about 5 now. It's still hard to keep him on the water for a long time, so it's going to be coming where, you know, I started doing some videos with me and him. I got one video uploaded on YouTube, but it's hard for a 5-year-old to stay on the kayak, especially in this heat right now, for a long period of time. But I know it's going to change, and we'll be able to get him out longer. But that's the reason why we got the Nucanoe on top of the Hobie, and that's the reason why I changed. I just wanted to keep this as my primary kayak because I want to be, you know, I want to spend a lot of seat time on this and really understand it, to see what my limitations are, how far I can push this to be safe, especially with my son on the water. That's why I made this my primary and gave the Hobie to my wife. So at least she's got a pretty cool kayak to start out with too as well. But it's a very simple setup. I like keeping the deck clear up front here. I'm probably never gonna get the gear pod. I've mentioned that numerous times, but maybe later on when my son's older and I don't have to worry about the open deck space, I may get the gear pod to come in here, but that's gonna be a long time down the line. This is our setup. This is what we use for fishing competitively and just for having fun. We don't change anything. We don't remove anything. We don't add anything different when I'm fishing for fun or fishing competitive. I don't think you can get any simpler than this. Probably could if you took the motor off and stuff like that, but this is still a very simple kayak. And I will say I am going to be doing a review with the Torqeedo coming up soon. As soon as I get my butt back on the water. It's been a little bit of time. We got some work around the house to do, but we are going to do a full review. I did the initial review, but I'm going to do a full review of the Torqeedo and how it's been so far, especially being in tidal water, being on freshwater on large lakes, and the range. The lowest I've taken this, I'm going to talk about real quick in this video. The lowest I've taken this battery is down to 31%, and that's a long day on the water and covering a lot of water. So it's been holding up very well. If you have any questions, drop a comment, and you know me, I get back to every one of you as soon as I can, and it's usually pretty quick. So as always, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be safe on the water, and I'll catch you guys on the water. See you guys soon.